Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. My name's Jared. Today we're going to be doing some work on the 180 and we're going to be looking at doing a intercooler sprayer. So why would you want to do an intercooler sprayer? Well, essentially the turbo is compressing air into the engine to increase the amount of air that the engine can consume, and when it's compressed it adds heat into the air. That's why we have an intercooler as an air-to-air exchanger to drop the temperature. But this air-to-air exchanger, or the intercooler, acts as kind of like a heat sink. So it does retain heat as well. And one thing we can do is to increase its efficiency by spraying water or a liquid on it and it evaporating off to create cooling. So essentially we'll spray some water onto the intercooler, it evaporates off, cools the intercooler core itself, and then in turn cooling the air going into the engine. So why would we want colder air going into the engine? Well, first of all, cooler air is more dense, and that means we can get more oxygen into the engine for combustion. And second, we reduce our chance of developing knock as well from running a lean mixture. So my goal today is to do this on the cheap with just a generic washer kit I've purchased off eBay. So first off, what I bought was this very cheap digital thermometer. It was about $5 or $6 and it has a little sensor on the end which I'm going to put into the intercooler on the outlet side to see how much we've dropped the temperature. But unfortunately this cable's not long enough, so we're going to have to extend it into the cabin. And next what I bought was this generic washer box just off eBay. It was $25 Australian, and it comes with the tank with the pump on it already. It's just a 1 litre or maybe 1.5 litre tank. Comes with a little short wiring harness which plugs in. It's just got positive and negative. It comes with a temporary switch, so you can just press this down and run the pump for however long you need to run it for. Comes with some fittings here to go with the hose. It's just like a clear aquarium hose. You get 2 washer outlets that you would use normally for like your windscreen, but in this case we're going to use it to spray onto the intercooler. You get some nuts and bolts for mounting the bottle, as well as some hooks I think for the line, for managing the line, and I think this is for mounting the switch on a bracket. So the first challenge you're going to have is where you're going to mount the bottle. And first off, if you have a drift car or you don't care about your washers on the windscreen, what you could do is save yourself a lot of time and repurpose the existing one and just reroute that hose to where the nozzles are going to go. So you would just pull on the wiper stalk and spray that way. We're going to install another bottle because I don't want to get a defect in Australia for not having working windscreen washers, and I've been thinking we're going to install the other bottle on this side where normally the factory side mount would go. So we got a little bit of room there. And then we got to sort out the wiring. So we got to get power from the battery, and then we also got to run the switch into the cabin and ground it. So I think first steps first is we got to get this front bumper off so we can mount the nozzles, run the wiring and get the bottle in place. Now we have the front bumper off. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a hole in this front crash support where we can put the fogging nozzles, but I might just bend them down so it kind of sprays down. One thing I got to just be careful of is these here, because I don't want to be spraying onto this part. I want to be spraying directly to the intercooler. I think it'd be better to mount it on this because in the future if I take the bumper off I don't have to worry about disconnecting the hoses for the washer bottle. And we're going to have a very short distance because what I plan is to have the bottle just in the bottom here. I think the bottle's going to look something like that. Filling wise might be a bit difficult I'm gonna have to put like a hose or something through here to be able to fill it with water. I've got this little watering can which I've got a hose on, which I've used this before for filling them. So I think that's gonna kind of go in there. So I think maybe first things first, I'll just get that bottle mounted. The bracket just slides off here, and I think I'm just gonna put a M6 bolt in the back there on the bracket where it's gonna go. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. We still got access to the tow hook here. Ended up adding a little spacer behind it so I didn't touch the tow hook. See the cap there. I can reach in here or reach underneath and pop the cap to fill it. Next I think I'm gonna mount the spray nozzles. So I'm just gonna make a hole kind of here because they both spray out, and here. Looking at this nozzle here, you can see it's spraying right to the top of the intercooler where the majority of the air is probably going to go down the bottom here. So I think if we want to mount it on this, we kind of need another bracket to say like point it downwards. I had this other bracket, I think it might have come with some furniture for mounting it to the wall. As you can see, I just used that same hole and I just bent it and like angled the nozzle down. Hope it like doesn't interfere with the section of the bumper, but I think that looks pretty good, and I can just bend it to the angle once we've got it in, and we can just see how it sprays. And then I can even like swivel this left or right depending on what the spray pattern is going to look like. So next I'm going to work on the plumbing. It's worth noting this is the tube you get. It's probably 1.5 meters long. So if you're thinking of mounting this in your boot or probably even on your firewall, you're not going to have enough. I think I probably just got enough considering the tank is right next to where it's going to plumb in. So you can see I have one nozzle here, one nozzle there. So I'm going to go from this one to this one and then to the tank. So that's my line. I pretty much just got enough. So just a close up. We've got the hose coming out of the pump up here into the T fitting, which goes to nozzle 1, and the other end goes to nozzle 2. So that's pretty much the plumbing done. Besides, I mean, I left this bit extra in the middle just in case I want to move the nozzle or something like that, or maybe we add more nozzles. So I left a little bit extra length here just in case, you know, we move it down or something. But as you can see, like, you pretty much just get enough line to just put the bottle right there. You wouldn't want to have the bottle at the back there because no way that line would reach unless you were going to go buy some more. I think the last thing we've got to do now is get this wired up. First we're going to extend this wiring because we need to bring this positive to reach from our bottle to our battery, and we're going to put a fuse on it as well. And at the same time we're going to run that earth around, and we're going to go into the car where we're going to attach one side of the earth and then earth the other one to inside the vehicle somewhere. So I was attaching the wires to this switch that comes in the kit, and one of them broke. It was very loose, so I had to go ahead and buy another one, and I bought a black one that looks a little bit more stealthy, and it's got some bigger terminals, so I can just use these crimp-on terminals to push onto the back of it. And if you're wondering, it was just a Nava momentary push button switch. It was like $7 from Autobarn. I don't like how tall it is, but I like that it's black. And then in the car I've just got the earth wire going to the body and the earth coming from the pump here. And I just got that temperature gauge set up there. So I'm just going to connect those two sides, the earth from the pump, earth to the chassis, to my switch. So that's what that looks like. You can hear the pump spraying. You can see those nozzles are just dripping because they were spraying water. And the intercooler's wet, the floor's wet. So wiring wise, we got that plugged in. and I've got it connected to some twin core wire. I went and threw some sleeving on it, and it just runs up underneath here, comes through the duct. I got a fuse here, and then the positive side of the fuse goes directly to the positive of the battery. And then I've also got another wire down there, which is the earth. So the positive comes from the pump through the fuse to the battery, and then the earth continues up under here, which I've got cable tied on, and then through our hole in the firewall to the switch, and then from the switch to the ground. And then also I went and put that temperature sensor just here because that's the outlet side of the intercooler. And I extended the wires. You can see I just had some white wire and black wire to extend the sensor, and I just got it temporarily here at the moment. If it works well, then I'll do the same thing. I'll just relocate it up under here, and I've just got it taped here temporarily near the switch. Maybe later I might move it into the center console there, because I think I might hit it with my knee there. Okay, that's enough. Alright, so now I've been driving a bit. What I've noticed is that when you're cruising, it stays around ambient temperature. I'm not sure if that is just the air flowing past the sensor, but then when you do a pull, it goes up about 1 degree, and then when you sit here stationary, the temperature slowly goes up. If I hit the sprayer while I'm driving, I can get it to drop down maybe 1 degree, but that just might be the limitation of the evaporative cooling, considering it's only around 18-19 degrees outside at the moment. So it might just be that on a hotter day we need to trial this. So stationary, spraying, I don't know, for some reason the temperature goes weird. Maybe my wiring. Does it drop the temperature? No, it stays pretty stable. I found it had the best effect when you're actually moving and you spray the water. Alright guys, wrapping up this video. So as you saw when we went on the drive, it wasn't that warm on the day when I tested it, and spraying, it didn't drop the temperatures that much, and when it did drop them, they came back very quickly. I think in order to test it properly, we need to go on a hotter day when we do need to do more cooling, because if the ambient temperature is 18 degrees, then the amount of evaporative cooling that you can do is going to be reduced compared to on a much hotter day. I think another thing I want to experiment too is changing the nozzles, so that the jets which we have for the windscreen, they just spray in 2 directions on like a point, whereas I think if it was more of a fog or a mist, it would cover a larger surface area and cool down the core better. And also one thing that might have been playing with the readings is having the temperature sensor on the front of the intercooler where the cold air is hitting it. It might be better if I put it on the back of the intercooler, and probably even better again once I put the car on a link later and get an intake air temperature sensor. Measuring the actual air in the pipe is probably better than just measuring the core, because that's what the engine runs on, the air entering it. If this video was helpful or you enjoyed it, please put a comment down below and like this video. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.